Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It is 10 o'clock here in the morning, Calgary, Alberta, Saturday, April the 23rd, and I'm glad to be here. This is Worldwide Epidemic of Child Abuse and Human Rights Abuses, and it's just a show I like to do on Saturdays, just kind of taking a look at what's going on worldwide as far as child rights issues go, and the human rights abuses and whatnot. It's out there. It's everywhere. It's in the news. Everywhere we look, we see tons and tons of reports coming in from all the different areas of the world, whether it's Asia or Africa or whatnot. And I just like to do this show and raise awareness. I was going to school and taking international community development, and that was sort of encompassed child rights, human rights, and I couldn't afford to continue to go, so I had to drop the course. But it was a great course, and it is kind of where my passion is. It's the whole worldwide issue of what's happening to children out here and to everyone. I really stand up for all human rights, men, women, and children. And I think that it's important that we all do. Human rights are only as good as our voices are, right? Human rights are just written on paper, and they don't really mean anything unless we're all willing to stand up and keep it a reality for people, right? So, yeah, Bill Murray here in my chat room. Hello, Bill. How are you doing this morning? I'm just glad you could be here. I'll let you on the air here. Hello. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I love that you do this show, and I just wanted to give you some support. Right
on. Well, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, I try to get into your chat room too as often as I can. Throughout the week, there's a couple of nights where I can sort of make like half of your show, which is great, and then the rest of the week it's kind of iffy. But I know there's a couple days during the week when I actually get to sort of join in and be part of your show as well. For people listening to the archive and people who are listening live, Bill Murray has a great show here on Blog Talk Radio, and it's very important, very vital actually. And I'm happy to be included and be a part of it and be able to experience what I'm getting out of it just myself. And it's scanned Stop Child Abuse Now, and that's blogtalkradio.com/Bill Murray. Yeah. You have a great show there, Bill.
I don't want to waste your show's time talking about my show, okay? I hear for you and what you're doing, and to tell people this is a really worthy show for them to be following. In fact, I don't know how many people know how devoted you are to these things, but you're really devoted to it, and I really admire that.
That's awesome. I appreciate it.
You do at least a dozen shows a week that are on related topics, and it's really you are a big voice.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Bill. That's how I feel about a lot of people here that are doing some great work here on Blog Talk Radio, and there are some awesome shows here that people are dedicated and devoted to getting the word out where we can. And we do have a lot of support from all kinds of people, so it's great. And, that's just the whole issue. We all need to do what we can. And I figured, I'll be a voice as long as I can in this format and do what I can, to reach people in this way. And I know that's what you're doing, especially, in the issues of trying to reach out to survivors. That's why I like to promote your work as well. Now, now that I know about your show and what you're doing, and the website National Association for Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, the NAASCA.org. And so, yeah, I feel the same way, Bill. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, I'm glad that you could be here. And, I just wanted to take a look at some articles I had seen. I sort of follow what's going on around the world, and there's always something going on.
When you posted about Liberia.
Mhm. Yeah. This is just something that's just so. This is something that is sadly so common that we're seeing in lots of different places, especially in the continent of Africa, the different countries in Africa, and children are being affected by this. This is something that people think, well, too bad for those people. I can imagine people around the rest of the world who aren't in the middle of this mess are don't consider that there's little children involved in this, and it is not their fault. And they are suffering. They are truly suffering in this mess, and it's just it's unfortunate that these kids are getting drawn into the middle of these issues that really don't have anything to do with them. This is all political garbage. It's really quite sad. And so I like to draw attention to what's actually happening when I see articles out here, especially dealing with the abuses towards children and also towards women and men. You know, these situations are not just affecting children; they're affecting men and women. You know, and this is absolutely horrible. This particular article comes from irinnews.org, www.irinnews.org, IRINNEWS, irinnews.org, and it's called Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Refugees Report Murder, Rape, and Abuse. And it was posted April 8, 2007 by IRIN. And it says Ivorians who have fled across the border to Liberia have reported incidents of rape, sexual abuse, and murder to NGOs and human rights groups working in Grand Geta and Nimba counties. So children in villages in Liberia's Nimba County told field workers at NGO Equip that they were forced to watch as their mothers were raped and then killed. In several cases, the children themselves were then sexually assaulted. A woman told Equip staff she was forced to watch while armed men raped her 4-year-old daughter. Most attacks have taken place outside villages as people tried to flee or at checkpoints, refugees said. And the refugees say sexual assaults have been committed by both armed supporters of Laurent Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara, as well as militia members at checkpoints, and to a lesser extent opportunists who have preyed on refugees' vulnerability. And Equip is working in 23 clinics in Nimba County to assist survivors of sexual violence and abuse in getting the medical and psychosocial attention they need. And they said sexual violence has become increasingly prevalent in Côte d'Ivoire over the past decade. Human Rights Watch HRW senior West Africa researcher Corinne Dufka told IRIN, during times of political upheaval, sexual violence has a clear political link, but unfortunately the general sense of lawlessness in Côte d'Ivoire for the past decade has led to a disturbing increase in sexual violence countrywide. And they said that the HRW has documented over 20 cases of politically motivated rape by pro-Gbagbo military forces in which the ethnic and political element was clearly identifiable, as well as reports of what happened to be politically motivated rape by Ouattara supporters. Dufka told IRIN. The organization has also documented extrajudicial killings perpetrated by supporters on both sides, stating that such incidents risk becoming a crime against humanity should it become widespread or systematic. And they said that Ouattara's spokesperson in Paris, Sagona Bambra, told IRIN impunity would not be accepted. Ouattara has stressed that he does not want to see impunity on our side or the other side. We do not support selective indignation, she went on to say. We are caught up in a cycle now, and we need to break out of that cycle and punish all of those who have committed acts of violence, whether from Gbagbo's side or Ouattara's side. And they say murder, massacres. Ivorians who fled to Liberia have also reported having witnessed murders. A man in his early 30s who was currently sheltering in Swedru in Nimba County fled into the bush after seeing 12 people murdered by people who he says were pro-Ouattara militia near the Liberia border, according to Equip Country Director David Waynes. Though order has been restored in parts of the country, said Waynes, notably in Danani, a town in western Côte d'Ivoire, there are still degrees of anarchy throughout the country, and people are operating with complete impunity. They are getting away with rape, murder, and every kind of human rights abuse. They said refugees are arriving in Liberia traumatized, exhausted, hungry, and often sick, says NGO staff. All along the Liberia border in Nimba County, I met refugee children who couldn't smile. They were too shocked at the violence they had seen, said NGO Plan International's disaster risk specialist Berenger Barahudago in a 6th April statement. Most of the refugees he spoke to came from villages near Deko, where up to 800 people were allegedly massacred. And this is horrible. This is sad that this is going. It's 2011, and this is still going on, and with no real hope in sight for these people.
It goes on around the world, and people need to wake up to. Really liked what you said before at the top of the show that human rights is something we write down on a piece of paper until we're ready to stand up for it. And every human has the right to be here and the right to a certain quality of life that is being ignored by those of us who have a fairly high quality of life because we don't have to see it. It's not in our face. And we would not put up with these kinds of things if we really understood that they were going on. And so I applaud again your taking the risk of ostracizing some people from even wanting to come to a show like this, but you need to get the word out, and we need to get the word out.
Mm-hmm.
This
absolutely.
stuff they're talking about, this sexual violence, it's a tool that instills fear, and that's why they use it, because they want the population to be terrified of whatever group is doing it. It's the same reason they used to, in certain parts of Africa, cut off an arm and then let the person live and walk around, because everyone they came in contact with from then on, it was going to instill fear in everyone. Look what can happen if you cross the barrier.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's to instill fear and to control and to devastate a population. To send a population, just into complete chaos. And who's caught in the middle of it? Children, little children. And I mean, it's bad enough that men and women are caught in the middle of this that are decent people, but you got children in the middle of this, and you can imagine being one of these little children, in some of these countries in Africa, who there's no hope for them. There's no help, and they suffer on and have to deal with knowing and with seeing what they've seen and having to try to cope with that. I can't imagine what that would be like for these little children, and it's horrific. And this is just all the time. I see these reports coming in all the time. This is not something that is just rare. This is just happening all the time. That's what I like to make a point here on my Saturday shows, is while we're eating our cornflakes and our pancakes over here, in North America, United States and Canada, people in places like Africa and Asia, lots of different places around the world, are suffering in the most horrific ways, and a lot of it's human rights abuses. It's not necessarily just poverty and lack of clean drinking water and lack of resources. I mean, these people are being killed and murdered and maimed and tortured and raped, and I mean, every kind of human rights abuse is inflicted upon them. And the rest of us are all sitting around just eating our cornflakes and kind of not thinking about that, going shopping. And, it's like I just want to raise attention and promote, the fact that we've got to, all of us, be aware that this is happening and, work within our own countries, first of all. I believe in helping your own country first, and then get involved nationally and internationally if you can, because these... Yeah.
I had an idea to start something called the Food Corps, which would put our own people together, back to work, because it's very labor intensive to grow food. But we used to be called the breadbasket of the world, and we no longer do that. In fact, we pay people to not grow food, We subsidize and we raise the price of our food so that it stays artificially high. We have the capacity to be the breadbasket of the world, but unfortunately, my father was working on these issues in the 60s. He was a part of a major charity, happened to be a Catholic charity, but a major charity that sent money all over the world, having raised it here in our country, and the same pictures were coming out of those countries. But what's changed in today's world is all the violence. You can't go in those countries to help the people as far as if they're refugees, because it's too dangerous for refugee workers to go in there. There's no access. So a lot of starvation, that part of it, is going on because of that barrier, the violent barrier. And we need to be honest about it. We could do something about it if we decided to, but apparently we think we're already too involved in too many other places militarily, for example, and so we're not willing to go in there and take a side overtly. But in the meantime, hundreds of thousands of people are dying all the time, and they're real people, and they have souls, and they have feelings, and they have every right to grow up in a world where they have at least some opportunity for a certain quality of life.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And I think that's what, a lot of people don't think about, in this situation. I know some people do, and it's obvious because there are lots of caring people, and there's lots of people that do care around the world, but there's a whole lot of people that really don't. And, it's like, it's just important to know that this is going on, not only in our own countries in North America, not in the U.S. and Canada, but it's going on all around the world. And we have over here, in North America, we have so many programs, even though it's not perfect. It's not a perfect system over here either. But at least, we have some protection, and we have some programs that are set up, across the country, both countries, where people can get help, and people can get justice, and people can find, protection and safety, security, and, at the majority. And there are obviously some through the cracks, and we know this, right? But
sure.
you think about some of these other countries where there is absolutely no protection for these people, and literally, hundreds of thousands of them being forced to uproot and move, and are being attacked, like, and raped and killed, maimed and tortured. And it's not just women and children who are being raped, it's men too. Like, they're just raping whole villages. Like, they'll just get a hold of a whole village and they'll rape everyone in the village. They don't, it's not like they're just picking on the women or just picking on the children. They're just raping everyone. And so it's absolutely, it's absolutely horrific. It's
a tactic of terror. It's about terror, more than about sexual gratification, although, of course, sometimes it's about sexual gratification. But most of the time, it's not about that. It's about instilling, fear and terror on a population. So, you go in and do that to one town, it makes every other town in the region think that could also happen to us.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's right. And so then, of course, they're going to, they're going to be, subservient to those people, you bet. And they're going to, they're going to feel that they have to do what those people tell them to do, you bet, because of what happened to the last village. It's like, it's horrible, absolutely horrible. I think about those people. I keep them in my heart, and I keep them in my prayers, because those people are people just like you and me, and they wake up in the morning and they go to bed at night, and they are the human experience. You know what I mean? Like, these are moms, these are dads, these are grandmas, these are aunts and uncles and cousins, and brothers and sisters. And they are being annihilated, really, by their own people, which is very, very sad. And I think it's just important that we do remember these people and keep them in our hearts. And if you have the capability to help out with those NGOs and those non-governmental agencies, or even the governmental agencies that are over in those places, lots of people, so many of us don't have the resources, really, financially or in any other way involved, but so many of us, on this planet do. And so if you do, please get involved, because those people, man, they need everybody's help that they can possibly get. I know that I support a group here in Canada. It's a charity, not-for-profit organization, Canadian International Learning Foundation, out of Canada, Ottawa, Canada, and that's a great group. They do some great work. They're a grassroots organization. They've managed to open schools in Afghanistan, operating 2 schools in Afghanistan, and they also operate a school in Uganda. And it's groups like these little groups that, you find out who's doing some good work in some of these countries and then support it. Because what this does is there's people in Uganda who want education. They want to change their country. They want to take their country back. And so these groups of people contacted the CILF, the Canadian International Learning Foundation, and said, how can we get a school over here through the Internet? We need to learn so we can get our country back, because we don't want to see any more of this going on. We don't want to see any more devastation and poverty. So this is one country in Africa, out of the 52 or 54 countries in Africa, that really wants to see change and really wants them to create change within their own country. And I think that's what it's going to take with all those countries in Africa. They're all going to need to, at some point, they're going to have people stand up and say, we need to change this. Education really is one of the ways to do it. And, and this is just one little group who's operating in Uganda and Afghanistan, who are doing a great job. So that's what I encourage people to do, is find these groups out here who are doing great work and then support them when you can. I do what I can to support the Canadian International Learning Foundation, and they're all volunteers. It's just it's a not-for-profit organization. So, and there's lots of them. There's lots of great groups out there doing lots of good work, and so you can get involved that way.
I don't understand why, we're constantly talking about now the fact that people are having terrible time finding work and the need to create jobs. And, in the 60s, which you probably don't remember the 60s, of course, but I do, Peace Corps and Vista. The Peace Corps was for people mostly young people volunteered for it, who were going to be sent overseas to other countries to kind of help out with any way they could. And Vista was a similar program, except it was aimed towards our own continent, our own country. Mm-hmm. And these are programs that were pretty popular back then. And one of the reasons that they had some resonance is they had a leader namely originally John Kennedy, who encouraged people to participate, get involved, and so forth. And I think we kind of have a leader like that now, but he's not talking that way. Is the point? If you have leadership that's talking about it, and you give those programs another shot, it's an excellent way to get some people engaged. Now, you pay for them, but the amount that you pay compared to, say, the amount that it costs to have a military campaign goes on is minimal.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, that's right.
People who sign
exactly
up
right.
are entitled to stipends, small amounts, but they don't get paid anywhere near what the private sector would get paid. But on the other hand, they're also given some benefits, and they're taken care of, to a certain degree while they're a part of the program, and to a certain degree after. I don't understand why this hasn't come back into popularity, because I think we have the resources, namely the people, and that kind of money. We don't have money to solve all the world's military problems. No way.
No, we don't. And that's the whole issue. And we don't have the money to solve everybody's problems. Period. You know what I mean? We can't even solve our own problems. But the thing is I just think it's a matter of keeping and remembering that human rights, worldwide really are, and including North America and Canada, are only as good as we're willing to stand up and back them up. Like these rights, the human rights, all of these people have human rights, everyone on the planet. And of course, they're only on a piece of paper. And so if we don't all stand up and get involved and use your voice and use your whatever you have, you're right. No, I understand what you're saying there, Bill. And I think it's unfortunate because there's a need, and there's a lot of people who would be willing to go, and a lot of people would be willing to be a part of it. And it's unfortunate because. And maybe it's possible that they just can't now because they're just too concerned about security of those people or something. I don't know. Because nowadays, I wanted to go to Afghanistan, and, you can't even go to Afghanistan to help. It's not, you have to basically, they only allow so many civilians in the country at any one time, and they have to account for every single one of them at all times. And so I think they're only allowing, 400 civilians at any given time in Afghanistan. And I wanted to go over there and be a part of that change. Yeah, they don't just let people in certain, they don't in certain areas, they just don't allow people in there because of the dangers, and it's just too dangerous. And it's the same with these people right now with this article that we're looking at here from Iron News with Côte d'Ivoire. These people, there's armed militiamen, both groups going around killing and murdering hundreds and hundreds of people. So they can't even afford to have any more people over there. The NGOs that are there now are having a hard time being protected. So they can't protect those people. They can't even protect themselves. It's absolutely horrific. What is going on? This is just, it's sad. It's very, very sad that we see this. This is just normal. Every day we turn on the news. We turn on our televisions, we turn on the internet, we turn on we open up the newspaper, and it's in our face. This violence and this complete, insane behavior by these people who have just taken it upon themselves to overthrow governments and to become, these oppressors and this is incredibly sad. It's like, oh my God, but this is what we're seeing out here. It's just so important for people to realize that if you can get involved, please do, and do whatever you can and be a voice, promote these small groups who are grassroots groups who are doing great work, whether it's in North America or, around the world, right? Get involved and do what you can to help support people because there's groups, everyone needs help. It just draws attention to the fact that every single country, there's one country unscathed by something, every place, we do need to help people where we can. Find what drives you and what's in your heart to do and get involved. That's my big message, because it's sad to see this. I wish it was something we could do, but there's unfortunately, we'd have the whole continent of Africa right now is just a mess.
I may be naive. I do believe that inside of many people there is the willingness to get involved at a certain level. Willingness to get involved, but they need inspiration and they need encouragement and they need information, and they also need support. They need to feel like it's not for nothing I'm going to do this. They need some support too. But the part that you and I can do on shows like this is raise the consciousness level, because I do believe that those people that are listening to us, there's a lot of goodwill out there, but it's kind of misdirected, and frankly, we're afraid for ourselves. So, and I understand that. So we got to feel that if we got involved, there'd be safety for us as well. But I think everybody has some role they can play, even if it's from here and it's a donation they make. There's some small thing they can do, every one of us, to making this a better world.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, there's different groups you can volunteer with. Like for instance, the Canadian International Learning Foundation. I volunteer with them as well. I'm also the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children. But I'm very minimally involved with CILF now because I'm just too busy. But they know that I'm still support them and back them up. But they have things that people can do. For instance, for as far as volunteering goes, which only might take 1 or 2 hours a month, but you can get involved in helping to write certain articles up, and you can get involved in helping to create certain profiles on the website, and it's this infrastructure. It's just kind of like being a part of the whole thing and helping out where you can, because these people need help too. They're trying to run an organization that requires a lot of work. And it requires many, many man hours, and they appreciate the volunteer help because they can't afford to pay people to do this stuff because the funds need to go over where they need to go. So that's the thing. It's like you don't have to volunteer your whole life away. I mean, most people can't do that. I'm just saying, get involved where you can. Put in a few hours here and there for somebody. It really does help out, and it makes a huge difference. And you don't get paid for it really in cash or money, but you get paid for it in a whole different way, which is just knowing that you're contributing to the positive changes that need to happen in this world. And so, it's important for everybody to realize that it is going to take all of us. We are all going to have to be responsible for changing this world. And not to forget these children out here around the world, and even in North America and Canada, who at no fault of their own are having to deal with and try to survive these horrors of different abuses that are inflicted upon them, and they're just being stuck in this mess that was not created by them. And we can change this world, and we can do. And there's lots of people out here doing it. There's lots of people out here talking about it, and they have been for years. And I just figured, why not? I'll just get involved too. I have nothing better to do with the rest of my time here on this planet. And so I just encourage other people to do the same thing, whatever way you can. Everybody has a gift, and everybody has talents, and everybody has the ability to make a difference in someone's life. And so, I just encourage everybody to please do that. And that's what you're doing, Bill. That's what Jessica's doing. That's what, you guys are reaching out. You guys are reaching out to help survivors of child abuse and help so many people. And you're just doing the same thing. You're just part of this whole positive change that really needs to be seen around this planet, And we can only, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the original premise of my nonprofit that's been going on for 10 years, is that we all can play a role, and some of us can play bigger roles than others according to the amount of time we have to spend at it, or perhaps money we can donate to it, or talent that we have, or whatever. But every bit of the contribution that a community person makes, matters. It makes a difference. It's what the name of the show, Community Matters. It's a double entendre. It talks about issues of the community, but also it's making the argument just in the title that we make a difference if we act as a community, and all of us can do something. You mentioned 1 or 2 hours a month might be all it takes, but that's meaningful to the person to whom you donate 2 hours. It is.
Yeah, that's right. You bet it is.
You can be a big brother for a kid for an hour a week. Big brother for a kid that'll change that kid's life. Because the adult took the time out of their life, his or her life, to pay attention to them, and no one else had. It's as simple as that,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We can all do something, and that in our own capabilities and in our own, abilities, and with what we have, we can all do something, and that's really why I'm doing these shows and trying to just encourage people to get involved where they can, and just keep in mind that these people around the world, it's not just stories coming out of the news. These are moms and dads. These are children. These are brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents. This is people like you and me that are suffering, and honestly, if we don't keep them in our hearts and keep them in our prayers, I mean, we need to do all we can to help them, right? We have about a minute left. Thanks a lot, Bill, for being here. I appreciate it. I usually. This is awesome. I'm glad you could join the show. Yeah, I'm usually on this show by myself. It's kind of a lonely half hour, so I appreciate this very much. It was great spending this time with you. Absolutely.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to chat and have some input. That's the thing. It's nice to have somebody to talk to who's like-minded and understands the issues and is out there doing what you can to make a difference. I hope everybody will check out Bill Murray's show here on Blog Talk Radio. Please do. I'm in the chat room, like I said, usually a couple times during the week, and I try to catch the archives when I can. It's a great show. So keep up the great work there, Bill. And, we'll just keep on going. We'll just keep on moving forward. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll be back on tomorrow with my one show, my Mount Bethel Christian Bible study. And next week, starting all over again, one child abuse survivor to another, as well as child abuse prevention and human rights abuse prevention is up to us during the week there. You can check my show page. But make sure you have a great weekend. I appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in, and Ozone was here. And thanks for taking the time to listen and be here and be a part of this. And I appreciate it. It doesn't mean much if nobody really feels that it's worth anything to them or is valuable to their time. I do appreciate it. I know I've got like over 24,000 to listen to, so people are listening, and I appreciate everybody who's taken the time to listen to my shows. I do. It takes a lot of time to listen to all my work, so I appreciate it. Thanks, and have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.